You have audio?
Puedo silenciar.
Videoda mostra ciò.
Treba archiviare.
No, lasciarcela adatta vero de
Stop. Mute.
Spera che ho canalizzato, se fanno una pistola.
Room verified.
아, di mo siya, edik sim ka, di ka marchand ko yan.
Which camera?
Some future municipal project that enable completion are supply installation, configuration, and operation of an integrated municipal electric bicycle system. This project has the bicycle as one of the elements of transportation regulation. Secondly, integrated electrification action. The specific project will inform benefit of the Thirdly, utilization of renewable energy sources and implementation of intelligent energy management, distribution, storage, and consumption systems. This project aims to facilitate the transition of renewable energy sources. Thank you for your attention.
No, because I have PowerPoint ready, but I put it. Yeah, that was using it afterwards, and I will send it afterwards. For me, it's no problem, as I told you. Yeah. Book it up. In any case,
that the community helps in developing it. The local community, we are partners with local schools.
We start? Okay. Okay, so we already start. Qual è il tuo profilo migliore? Tutti e due sono
The video we will display it later.
Display. Ποιος θα μου πει ποτέ να την κοιτάξει την κάμερα να λιώσω.
Τώρα μόλις μας έτοιμο το δούμε.
Our local political institution plays a fundamental role in the ecological transition, as it can implement a series of actions and projects at a local level that drive a shift toward a more sustainable and environmentally friendly model. The Department of Environmental Education has implemented a composting and organic waste program and has conducted various climate change awareness campaigns.
Νομίζω πρέπει να ξεκινήσω.
So I'm sorry, but we had a problem with the videos. We will display it after. Good morning, everyone, and a very warm welcome to our first event for the project Active Cities, Green Cities. My name is Tessie Melidi from RegioCoop, and I'm the project coordinator. It's great to see so many of you online today. The Act Green project is funded by the European Commission's SERV program, and it brings together 8 partners for 7 European countries to discuss how European citizens can be involved in the green transition, to discuss also actions on the climate and the environment, and to share our best practices of cooperation among public authorities, private sector, and NGOs that support climate mitigation at the local and regional level. And we have the perfect partnership to do it, a strong combination of representatives of local authorities and experienced NGOs. We have Kalithea, the lead partner, which is the most populous municipality in Greece and one of the biggest municipalities of Athens Metropole. We have the Association of Hungarian Municipalities with over 1,700 members, the Association of the 12 Urban Municipalities of Slovenia, the Union of all 41 Romanian counties, the Commonwealth of Ribera Baixa with 11 Spanish municipalities, Panikos Hatzihabis, a foundation from Cyprus with great experience on cohesion policy, System NG from Greece, a very active youth organization with a very strong European network, and EducPro from Portugal with great experience on education and the training of young people. This project builds on experiences from the previous project, Active Cities, Active Citizens. Discussing citizens' engagement, we realize that climate change is one of the biggest problems that citizens identified. And actually, EU citizens ask to increase citizens' engagement in the decision-making process. They agree that climate change is the third most serious problem facing the world after poverty, hunger, and lack of drinking water. They agree that green transition should not leave anyone behind, and they also feel a personal responsibility to act upon it. So today, this event is very important for our project. It is the first event of a series of 18 events that we will organize until June 2026, as we are trying to cover different elements of green transition. And today I'm very happy because we have with us some of the most relevant experts from the European Commission, the Committee of the Regions, and CMR that will explain us how policies and funding work. We will hear successful stories that might inspire us, but most importantly, they are here to answer our questions. So I hope to see many questions from you today. I pass the floor to our moderator, Nikos Lampropoulos, to introduce our speakers and to open the debate.
Thank you very much, Stacy. And welcome everybody. It's indeed a great pleasure to be here today with two of Commission experts that are really going to give us answers of many of your questions, but they're going also to present us in details, I believe, how the policy is designed, what are the main elements of this the policies related to green transition, and to a certain extent, what is the funding behind it, because money is an important element in this discussion. So, who I have with me today. So I have Mr. Leonardo Di Filippo, who's the team leader of the Climate Pact. He's responsible for the outreach with the citizens mainly. Welcome. Sorry. And I have Bruno Mola, who's the city guy. He's responsible for translating policies at the European policies at the local level. So I will start with Mr. Mola asking what are the main elements for what are the main policies that relate with the cities, and how they can really work towards green transition, and is there any funding that they have to support them in this transition? Thank you.
Thank you, Nikos. Thank you for the invitation. As you can see, we look alike, so it's easy to confuse us. And you're also part of the bunch.
Yes,
so,
absolutely.
I would like to do, because you ask a lot of questions, so I would like to do a step back, if that is okay with you. And it's about talking, what are we talking about when we're talking the transition, and we're talking about climate change. We have now the certainty that climate change is happening, and this is not changing, even if priorities might change. At the political level, the climate change is there and is acting, and we are starting to see the effect and the negative effect of climate change in our lives, right? And this has been particularly important in the last years with the increasing number of natural disasters, but we also start seeing and we've been able to calculate the economic impact that climate change might have by the end of the century. So by according to the first EU climate risk assessment, which was issued last year, we realized that by the end of the century, without any action, we might be losing 7% of our GDP due to the impact of climate change. Other estimates, that are less conservative than this one, get this number up to minus 13% on the GDP. Therefore, climate change is real. Climate change is an impact of our life, and we need to act upon it. Now, the European Union, in the past 5 years, have done an unprecedented effort to transform all our legislative acquis into an acquis and legislation set to achieve climate neutrality by 2050 and to achieve climate resilience by 2050. And this has been an effort which has been really unprecedented, because we really touched upon almost every piece of legislation which was concerning energy and climate and resilience. And we have adapted to these new objectives, which is one of the most ambitious globally, and we know that. But it's also very realistic, right? Because what we've seen is that based on the calculation of 2023, we are already on the right way, meaning that we have already reduced our emissions by 37% according to the level on 2090. And we know that we need to get to minus 55% in 2030. So we are on the right way, but we need to speed up and we need to keep on working on this, and especially to build resilience, especially to be prepared to the inevitable effects and negative effects of climate change, for example, with natural disaster, increase of extreme heat. And that is something that we will need to work upon in this new mandate. What happens in this new mandate is that we also have new priorities that are emerging, okay? Competitiveness, security, energy independence, are all elements that appeared in the past 5 years, are very important, very topical, and therefore the new Commission has set an ambitious plan to tackle those. But what's important in this new transition plan is that even if the Green Deal does not appear as a priority, one of the main priorities in itself, well, it is actually a key condition to achieve all the other priorities. So when we're talking competitiveness, we are talking also about decarbonization. When we're talking security and independence, we are talking about energy transition, because we have realized that there is no competitiveness without transition. There is no security without transition. And what's more important, there is not well-being as we are used to conceive it without transition. And this is a fact that all the reports that were issued this summer have shown very clearly, the Draghi report and the NISTO report. Now, what is the role of local actors in all this? Okay, we know that cities and regions and local authorities in general, local actors are key to the transition. Most of the investments, they need to be implemented. They will need to be implemented at the local level, right? Plus, if you consider cities, for example, they have multiple roles in this game, right? First of all, cities are main contributors of climate altering emissions, but it's also the places where we experience more the negative effects of climate change, because it's also where most of the population live, therefore where the risks are higher. But it's also the places where innovation happens, where we have know-how, where we have the citizens, where we have the energy, and we have the capital to make the change happen. And this is why the Commission supports cities and local actors strongly. It's not a new thing. We started doing this more than 15 years ago with the Covenant of Mayors, which is the first initiative that, how can I say, took cities by the hand in order to plan their transition and help them implement it. But then we also added more initiatives. There are many. There is the new, for example, missions for climate neutral and smart cities, the mission adaptation, that are also extra complementary initiatives that support the front runners to experiment those innovations that we need in order to deliver on the climate neutrality and resilience objectives. At the same time, we also realize that there is a lot out there, but then that's often local actors, they do not have all the administrative capacity, or even just the personnel, the staff, the funds, to carry out the role or to play the role that we expect them to play. Therefore, another key priority for this mandate for the Commission is to issue a new policy agenda for cities. Therefore, we are now working at it. So all directors general in the Commission that have a stake with cities, which is almost everyone, we are working together to define a new policy agenda, whose aim is to empower cities and local actors to deliver on the priorities, on the challenges they face, which are not only transition, it's also social inclusion, housing, mobility, and security. And therefore, this will aim to simplify and give them a clear picture of what are the opportunities available to them, a clear picture of the funding, and facilitate access to those. This is our homework, and we are in the next 5 years engaged to deliver on it.
Thank you very much. It sounds really promising. It sounds really urgent. I have a lot of questions for sure, especially when it comes to, let's say, to the commitment of the actors, also with the new priorities and everything. And I also noticed some of the questions our audience has, but I will come back to you on that, because now we talk about the cities and the local actors. What about the citizens? Who are the citizens involved there, and what is their role? How we can engage with them even more?
Of course. Hello, everybody, and thank you for inviting me as well. Not to do too corporate EU pitch, but I would just like to complement what Bruno said about the vision of citizens engagement in the Commission. And I would like to say that in this mandate, again, the President von der Leyen stressed again the importance of having citizens involved in policy making. So it's not only something coming, let's say, bottom down, but it's also an approach that is shared also top down. So we have this also from our hierarchy, from our IDGs, we have more and more increasingly this request to be more in contact with citizens. There are several initiatives that the Commission centrally is going to have, like implementation dialogues, reality checks with stakeholders, also mechanisms that can allow citizens to participate in policymaking. For example, at the moment, there is this process of involving citizens for the consultation on the new MFF. The multi-annual financial framework that is very important because it will set how the EU budget is spent in the next 6-7 years. So it's really a unique occasion for citizens to take part in this decision-making process. But talking about climate and talking about why citizens are important in the green transition, there are several reasons. And I think that the project that I'm here to represent, the European Climate Pact, is really at the core of the citizens' engagement for the green transition. We believe that the green transition for citizens is very important because, first of all, you know, when you have a plan, an adaptation plan or a green transition plan, it's very important that the citizens that will be affected by this plan are involved and are consulted and are active part of the plan of making this plan for their cities where they live on, because this will bring actually more trust, more acceptance to the plans that sometimes can also be a bit uncomfortable for citizens, because we have to be clear that some of the green actions that we want to implement on the ground might seem a bit disruptive for the daily life of the citizens. But this is why inviting them, making them active part of the decision making, also at local level, is really important, because it will increase the trust that the citizens have towards the institutions. It will increase also the the resilience during the transition period. So we only see big benefits on involving citizens in this process. And actually the project that I'm here to represent, it is the European Climate Pact, is really devoted to that. And its role, institutional role, is really to complement the other initiatives that Bruno mentioned, but with a citizen's perspective. So Bruno mentioned several initiatives like the Covenant of Mayors, the missions. They all deal with cities, and they all need a part of citizen engagement. So the European Climate Pact would like to close the circle with all these other initiatives to really foster with its community. We have a great community, and I hope that, Nikos, you will let me present it later, with this community to really to connect with the cities, with local authorities, and bring forward the local action, but with the citizens involved.
Thank you very much. I think it was very concise, very, very clear what you said. I will go to, then let me ask you first before we go to the questions, because you both talked very passionately, let's say, about the future, about the needs, and actually about the commitment of the actors. At the same time, we are all experiencing a change, let's say, in the atmosphere the past years, and especially the past months. Green transition has been really a controversial issue and a polarizing issue for the political debate. It led to extreme approaches at some point, and especially it was very much connected with the places that are left behind, with people who feel that this transition is not just for them, because that's another aspect I think that we should link with green transition. So you mentioned all those initiatives, the fact that the citizens need to be further engaged, but in the end, I think it boils down to the question of funding, which is very important, because it's true that we need to discuss, we need to find ways to move forward, but in the end of the day, we need also to find a way to compensate for those changes. So how do we link first with the cities? How do we connect funding with those policies? There are a number of different programs and activities. Do you think that the cities really take advantage of all of them? Do you think there is more that needs to be done? You mentioned about this new agenda for the cities. Do you think that this will integrate somehow all these instruments in a way that the cities would be able to use them?
Yeah, thank you, Nikos, also for touching upon certainly a point on which we are discussing a lot in these last days. Now, one thing is very important, because we say there is a reaction when it comes to the green transition. There is certainly some doubts and some opposition, and we recognize that. But one thing that is very important, sometimes is overlooked because is the silent majority, as we often call it, is that the majority of European citizens are in favor of a bold action addressing climate change and for the transition. That is something that gets stable in the Eurobarometer, in the citizen surveys, and is very important, because it's true that we're seeing many voices raised against the Green Deal. It's no secret. But this doesn't mean that this is the majority. The fact of shouting louder doesn't mean that the majority of citizens is against the Green Deal, is against the transition. On the contrary, the more we go forward, the more we see the impacts on our daily life that climate change brings, the more people are asking for a steady hand to drive the transition forward. But at the same time, by paying attention to those elements you mentioned, to social inclusion, to housing, to the new challenges that are emerging, to the need for security that people are feeling stronger and stronger these days. So this is something on which we are investing, we are focusing the politicians are focusing the 5 years mandate that is from now on, that is just started. And we are working for it. So coming to the policy agenda for cities, that's another very important point. Cities are not only facing, of course, the transition challenge. As I mentioned before, there is a social inclusion challenge, there is a housing challenge, security. The point is that all these things are connected. And so the whole point of what we need to do is that not to work in silos, but to propose systemic plans to change and approaches to change and help facing all these challenges. They are not disconnected between themselves. Security is connected to capacity to build resilience in the city. Okay, competitiveness is also built to the capacity to innovate and therefore to embrace the clean technology, which is the competition, the space of competition of the future, right? And social inclusion and housing. Quality housing nowadays mean also climate-proof housing. I mean housing that consume little energy, because this is also important for equality and justice. Therefore, this is what we are working on. Now, the new policy will approach all these topics in a systemic way. And the whole idea is to identify which priorities are particularly important for cities and local actors, which is the 5 I just mentioned, then define them precisely and present a clear picture of how to get the support that is needed in order to deliver on those priorities. And of course, this involves also funding. Now, when it comes to funding, there is one thing we need to be clear about. All the funding we need for addressing the challenges we have for the transition and in general for the challenges we have in cities will not only be public funding, okay? And will not only be EU funding. I know that in many places, many ways, I also come from the south of Italy, where we always seen European funding as a key element for development and urban regeneration. It's true. It is true. That is not the only one. Okay, and it's not going to cover all the needs because it's just limited as any funding. So what we need to do is, of course, to rationalize what we have, making sure that the public funding we have the European Urban Initiative, for example, or cohesion policy funding, or LIFE project fundings, Horizon Europe. All these fundings exist, and we can rationalize their access to these fundings. But at the same time, what we need to be able to is to use this public fund to leverage the necessary private investment that is needed for fulfilling the needs we have. Okay, so we will work much more with financial instruments in the future. So the idea of the new policy agenda, I will not anticipate too much because it's still undergoing. But the idea of the policy agenda is really to give a clear direction of the public funding, how to access it, possibly streamlining the access to the funding that exists to cities, but also streamlining the capacity to use this funding in an innovative way in order to leverage more private funding.
Sorry, can I just
Yes,
comment on something? Because, well, from the citizen perspective, let's say we have this duo now, because you mentioned the importance of ensure that nobody is left behind from the transition. So this is why we believe and we foster citizens' engagement, because we believe that involving citizens that represent the different, you know, like layers of society, this will allow an inclusive, of course, an inclusive transition, because everyone can bring what are the issues, what are the problems, what they will be the resources that they have. So this will automatically, let's say, trigger the reflex of thinking also of the vulnerable groups, because if everything is decided in behind closed doors, it becomes complicated then to have an inclusive policy. But if the citizens are immediately involved since scratch, then we can really nurture their needs and find, you know, like a mediation and concrete and solution also studied with the citizens that will be affected by the transition.
Since we're talking about the citizens, I want to insist a bit more on that, because we are talking about engagement, about involving them in the decision-making process, which is great, and it's something that we need to do. But at the end of the day, the citizens need to see that their life is getting better, is improving, even in the midterm, but not like in 20 years, and that they are not the only ones who pay for it. This is quite crucial. This is, let's say, the main argument against green transition so far. So, using your initiatives and with the way that you are approaching it, how do you think that they can?
But I think that what stands behind, like, the pact, at the core of the pact, is really the use. It's really involving citizens as ambassadors. As I mentioned, we have more than 1,000 ambassadors in all EU member states, because we believe that this peer-to-peer type of action is much more powerful than if the Commission would go in the member states and tell others, you know, you have to implement the green transition. So with these more than 1,000 people that have skin on the game, that are like real change makers at local level, we believe that it will enable us to overcome a bit the skepticism, because, you know, like, if you engage your community, if you try to show immediately at local level what are the benefits, that can be environmental benefits, can be health benefits, can be also in certain cases economical benefits, or just linked to a better mobility. I think that this, if it's said by ambassadors like the European Climate Pact ones that are everywhere in Europe, this is much more powerful, and the citizens will accept much more, let's say, if they are involved and if they are part of the transition, rather if it's imposed to them. So we believe that this is the importance why, and even to avoid this reluctancy from the citizens to be part of the transition.
Okay, I understand this. It remains to be seen, of course. Let me go through the questions that we have from our audience, and because I think that some of them really worth to discuss them. So one that I see that it's quite relevant is how the renewable energy sources can be embedded to the local EU citizens' lives in a better way. And I think that energy is a key topic, let's say, in this green transition, and it's very much linked also to the cost of living. So, what's your say here?
Yeah, well, necessary premise. I don't work in energy as such, so I'm not an expert. I will be speaking under the supervision of my colleagues that work in the in the sector. But I think when it comes to renewable energy, there is a first point we have to make, which is renewable energy is now a more efficient form of energy and is cheaper and is free, meaning that it's coming from the sun. Nobody can block the sun like it closes a gas pipe. Therefore, it is something that is crucial for our both energy independence and lowering the energy costs for everybody, companies, families, together. So renewable energies are a key opportunity. Of course, their deployment presents some obstacles and challenges, right? And of course, there is a need to support the citizens to engage in this transition fully. What is important with renewable energy, and I talk now with a very proud that I've just launched an energy community in my street 2 days ago, is that renewable energies give us the possibility to democratize the energy system. So to make sure that every citizen can become the producer and also the sharer, the one who distributes energy in the community lives in. And this is a crucial change because it means that the independence is not only, let's say, country-wise or Europe-wise against external stakeholders and reliable partners, but it's also independence of the citizens themselves. So we have the way to install our own solar panels, produce our own energy, consume that energy, and then share it with our neighbors. And that's a key change in the way we manage the energy system and a key advantage, which is both economic and social.
Is it something that the ambassadors are actually advocating for?
Absolutely. Yeah. And what they are also advocating for is for more investment on innovation, really to, boost also the technical deployment of this renewable energy. Because indeed we need innovation, we need technologies to be also independent for the production of solar panel, etc. So this is also something that the Commission is really boosting in this new mandate, like how to link technology and innovation to the green transition, both for the green transition itself, but also, of course, for the economy. And also what Bruno was saying, I mean, what we try to boost with our ambassador is exactly to create also these energy communities, which in our views are very powerful tool to democratize the transition.
So from energy, I want to touch upon another topic that is asked here, which has to do with sustainable tourism and sustainability in general. And the question is, the way a city operates, can it affect the sustainable tourism and sustainability?
The cities, as I mentioned before, a lot of power and some competences in order to determine the development model they have. And the model, of course, for many cities entails also the tourism model or the kind of tourism offer that is happening in the cities. Now, what we have with our the Covenant of Mayors, for example, we support cities to plan their transition, to define what are their objectives, to get to climate neutrality and resilience. And these plans are crucial because being them long-term helps cities to then plan their own activities in the short and medium term, making sure that the direction is clear. And this, of course, entails also sustainable tourism, but all the other activities that are in the cities. And we see that tourism, once again, when we touch upon sustainability, we should not only consider it as ecological, but sustainability is also social. We know that tourism in cities, especially short-term bite-and-run tourism, is creating a lot of problem when it comes to housing, access to affordable housing. So these are all problems that have multiple facets. What we need to do, and what is the aim in this mandate once again, is address them all together to make sure that we both have, yes, a more ecologically sustainable cities, but also more livable cities. Cities where citizens feel at home, where they are affordable and quality housing, where they live better, where they have better public space, where they breathe better air, therefore healthier citizens. This is all what we want to do, and we need to do it at the same time, because this is going to be the one thing in which we're going to say, yes, this is for good. This is for better, for improving our lives.
Does this require a change in the mentality of the citizens as well, in the way they behave, in the way they select the people who are running the cities, in the way they have expectations from them?
Yes, of course. I think that big part of climate action is what is called like a behavioral change, because we really have to have a sort of switch in the mentality of people. And I mean, we talk a lot about cities, but we see that cities are already in a way, you know, like the opinion of the public opinion is already more advanced. But I think that even more needs to be done when in rural areas, or not like central cities, but smaller or more decentralized places. And I think that there the challenge is even bigger to a certain extent. But indeed, there is this way of, as you said, of changing behavior. We have several tools, several instruments that also our project, the European Climate Pact, has developed really to help the cities, the citizens, our community to bring forward the transition. And it goes like really from having like very difficult climate conversation, for example, because this is the first level of approaching someone that's, you know, maybe is skeptical, to change his behavior, to let him understand why the climate change is important. So we have put a sort of quick tools that everyone can use really to start this behavioral change without, you know, like forcing anything. It's all very natural, it's all very spontaneous, because it doesn't have to be artificial, or as we said, top down, but it really has to be like the sense of, you know, like a community sense. So absolutely, behavioral change is fundamental. Nudging and behavioral change, we believe that also a bit of nudging sometimes also linked to over tourism, for example. Sometimes cities could also make some sustainable, you know, choices. Like, for example, I think it was Denmark that, you know, if you go biking to a museum, you get the entrance free. I think that these things already in behavioral change and nudging to a more sustainable behavior, also towards tourists, are very important.
I have another question here that I think links very well to what we discussed already. So it says that every time a new regulation comes in place, the cost for citizens increases. Electric vehicles, solar energy, etc. EU funding is usually not covering this cost for individual citizens. How can we address this issue? You mentioned that funding can come from other resources, but how can this reach the citizens? So I will start with you this time. How can we find the necessary funding for the citizens?
I think that, for example, the Commission has also, like in the pipeline, some help, like the Social Climate Fund, for example. This, you know, I think the plan is that this will. It's not directed to the citizens. They will not give money to the citizens, obviously, but they will find ways to make mobility more sustainable and more affordable, because the Social Climate Fund, as the word, as the name, I mean, it really wants to avoid that there is a transition that leaves people behind, the vulnerable groups. So it will be all actions determined to avoid to cancel the divide, to make sure that, well, again, not money will go towards citizens directly, unless I don't know if there will be like funding for retrofitting and, you know, to increase also the sustainability of the building. But it's like a systemic change that indeed we have to do.
What do you think? Yes, please.
Okay. I understand where the frustration comes, honestly, and I respect very much what is behind these questions. I think there is a lot, and there is a lot that concerns also trust towards the institutions. Okay, so what we are living now has been a few years, even decades now. There is the trust of citizens towards institutions is being eroded. It's been eroded by a lot of choices that have been made in the past, also in a way of the change in which the public debate is run and takes place. But there is this fact. So there is a certain fear within us, all of us, that any new regulation might entail some kind of problems, extra constraint, extra obstacle, extra cost for us citizens. And this is because in the past we have been witnessing this, and it's true. Therefore, there is a responsibility from our side. I put myself now, I was a citizen before, now I put myself as part of an institution, and for the institution and the politicians to reestablish this trust, and then therefore to show and make clear that this link between new regulations that promote the transition in this case and any other change, they really work in the interest of the citizens, and that is immediately seen, and that cost is fairly shared among in the community, because it's clear that there are some investments we need to make. The solar renewable deployment of renewable energy requires investment. We need to install solar panels, we need to install wind turbines. Now the point is about how do we pay for this, and how we redistribute the cost of it fairly within the society, where those who have the more, then they can contribute the more, and those who pollute the most can contribute the most. So that's the whole point, and this is what we will need to work more on.
Thank you. If I can add something here, and I want also your reaction, is maybe we should also consider that the member states and the municipalities need to find ways themselves to provide some funding for the citizens, or at least to make it easier for them to adjust. I know that in some countries they use part of the EU funding to support directly the citizens, with something that the Commission cannot do. And it's also true that you can create like local funds, and I'm sure that the partners of the project will have some experiences to share in their events in the future. But do you think that we should make clear that in the end of the day, there is something that needs to be paid, and we are paying for our future? So in any case, it's part of this broader change that we're trying to implement.
But as I said, the amount of investment that needs to be done is huge. We've seen it. There is estimations, even just Draghi mentioned 800 billions. I think it was, it was something like this, but it's 800 billion. Anyway, we're talking like huge amounts. I could not even count 800 billion myself. I don't know what that is. But this is what we are talking about. So indeed, there is a cost that is linked to this innovation, because we are talking about an industrial revolution here, basically. Okay, and this doesn't come for free. Then, of course, this is all about how we distribute the cost. Are we budget it in a way which is fair, and where we can reap the best benefits? But we are talking, that's one thing that is very important. We're not only talking cost, we are talking investment. There is a business case for it, because from that will derive better competitiveness, as we mentioned, so the possibility to compete in the new competition world, which is clean tech, not the old tech. So innovation, and also better life, better health for the citizens, better quality of our life, better public spaces, all things that will not be monetized directly. Well, health could be, but that will improve the way we live on this planet, and especially how long we're going to live and our children are going to live, which is also a rather important point.
Okay. Yes, I think for us, from the perspective of my project that I'm representing here, I think that I agree with what Bruno mentioned before, that is all about redistribution. You know, like from our side, we have like some of the billions that Bruno has, but they will be distributed for green technologies, for the social climate fund. And there, it's also up, to we receive the beneficiaries of this funding, how they will redistribute also to the citizens. But I mean, we are already doing that, because I don't want to enter like now into too many technical details. But there is like the ETS2, for example, that is already taxating the big polluters, and with this money, we are going to make investment in the social area. So there is already a sort of this mechanism. As Bruno said, we have to make it more maybe tangible. Now it's the start. We will be re-implementing this new industrial revolution after let's say this with the new mandate. So we are hopeful that this will work.
Perfect. I have a final question from the questions that we received from our audience, which is, what do you see as the biggest challenge for green transition? And I want to link this with the regions and the cities, because as you know, most of our audience comes from regions and cities around Europe. So I think it's important for them to understand, if a city wants to create a new plan, what is the best way to prepare for the future? What they need to do to prepare for the future?
Well, they need to join the Covenant of Mayors, of course.
Tell us a bit more about this one.
The Covenant of Mayors is an initiative which is indeed made to support cities with a sound methodology on how to build their plan for their transition, and how to build a plan that does not only touch on emissions reduction, but also on adaptation, also on energy poverty, that involves the citizens in the making and in the implementation of the plan. Therefore, is really a full framework which is there available for cities to define their path toward a better city. I say it's not only about climate, it's about the city, about the quality, the livability, the attractiveness, the interest that the city has for the citizens. And this is what I would certainly suggest. The challenge is not one. There are many challenges. We mentioned it. There is the challenge of keeping everybody on board. There is the redistribution challenge. There is the technological innovation challenge. There is the international challenge that is now assuming, let's say, a wider scope in a certain way, or like looks even more problematic. It's all challenges, but this is our life. Since we are born, we're just facing challenges one after the other. And whilst we go, we learn how to face them. And if we do it together, if we do it with a clear direction in mind, then it's going to be easy.
Thank you. What do you think?
From our citizens' perspective, we invite, like, for example, our community to go to cities and ask for these plans and see what is the status of these plans, because, I mean, they're institutions and they are accountable to the cities, and so we really, like, want them to go and ask where is the energy plan for the city. But we also think that there are a lot of challenges, and we reiterate from our side that involving citizens will make these challenges, at least from a recipient perception point of view, much lighter. So, try to involve as much as possible, try to talk with your citizens, try to have like a consultation with them, but also, other type of experiences, because then when you encounter a challenge and, like, you have citizens on your side that can be your ambassadors, then every challenge can be explained to them in a different way rather than from the institution. So we really believe that this citizen engagement is very important to overcome the challenges also. I mean, I'm not talking about the big challenges of industrial challenges, but really running, the transition at local level.
Great. Thank you very much, both of you. I think it was quite interesting. I think we touched upon the most important elements of green transition. And I also think that we gave some food for thought for our audience and for the next panel, that it's a bit more political, and they will discuss how really the cities take on board those suggestions and what they do about it. So thank you very much again, and looking forward for the next debate.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will have a short break of about 15 minutes, and we will be back at 11. But before we go, I want to ask you all to go to the online application that we have, which is the vuclub.com. And if you go there and you click the code BRX, which stands for Brussels, then you will see that there are some questions that there are questions and you can add your question. But you can also see that we will run a short survey, and I will ask you now to vote so that we can use those answers as an input for our next debate. So if you go now to this application, you should see the next question, which is, here. Do you believe that local and regional authorities have enough funding to support their activities? I will give you some time to vote. Yeah. I think it is really important to have your ideas here and your opinion, because as we said, we need to engage as much as possible. So this is also part of the engagement, giving our clear and honest opinion about things. And okay, so the next question is, do you feel that the citizens are involved in the decision making of process for policies related to green transition? And the last question is about, do you feel that due to recent geopolitical development, green transition is not a priority anymore? Good. Thank you very much. We will present the results in the next panel after the small break that we will have. Thank you very much. So, welcome back for our second panel. I want to say that I'm really happy and really impressed with the participation. We have about 130 people watching online, which is quite remarkable. And we are moving to our second panel. So in the first one, we discussed mainly the policies and also part of the funding of that the European Union offers for to support green transition. In this second panel, we will discuss a bit more about the cities and the regions and how they can really drive this green transition, the green change, let's say. For this panel, we have with us three panelists, and we have from DG Environment who will join us online from the European Commission, Mr. Alfonso Alcolea Martinez, who will present us the local impact of EU cleaner policies. We also have Elisa de Courcelles with us from the Council of European Municipalities and Regions. And we have, of course, Mr. Marco Markula, who's the president of the Helsinki region. He's a member of the Committee of the Regions, used to be president also of the vice president of the Committee of the Regions, and he has a long history with cities and regions in Europe. Before passing the floor to our speakers, I ask from the audience to give us your opinion about the funding that exists from the EU on green transition. So 67% of you said that actually this is not enough. And another 44% said that we need to do more to involve the citizens, where 33 that adds to that actually say that we are not doing enough for them. And 53% of you feel that actually the new geopolitical environment poses a danger for green transition. I think this is a really good start for our debate, together with what we discussed in the first panel. I would like to give first the floor to Mr. Markula to tell us, first of all, what do you think, what is your reaction to this, but also how the core supports really the cities, and how do you see the future? What do you think should be the steps forward?
Definitely, whatever we think about the climate and the present crisis in the world. So on long term, this climate issue, pollution issue, that's the priority number one, definitely. Of course, we need to now to tackle Mr. Putin, and we need to get the full peace to whole Europe. We need to get Ukraine stronger, playing as a European nation and so on. But anyhow, the climate, if we look whatever criteria, whatever statistics, so it's so evident. So we need to tackle that, and that's why I feel that on all levels we should be more committed to increase financing, although that I will come back maybe later on in the debate. So, but it needs to be strongly financed by the private financing as well. So we need industry, clean, targeted, activities, new industrial solutions, private taxpayers, money through the pension funds, and so investing everywhere on these issues that are so crucial: climate, pollution, biodiversity.
Thank you very much. And now I want to give the floor to Mr. Alfonso Alcolea from DG Environment for his presentation, because he will talk to us about the initiatives that support urban and green transition. I think this will be also an extremely useful input for our debate. Can you take the floor? Well, I have some difficulties connecting. Then I will pass the floor. Sorry. So I will pass the floor to Elisa then, until we solve this this technical issue. And so, what is the role of the cities here? Because you are in direct contact with them, you represent them actually, so you know very well what are the main problems they face, what are the difficulties they have, but also what is their vision, what is the future. And I think it would be nice also if you have some good examples to share with us. So the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much, Nikos, for having me on this panel, and to Tessie as well for this invitation. First reaction on these numbers that you were sharing regarding the enough funding or not for local and regional government. I will say that, of course, the answer is not surprising. But we're going to touch upon this topic in my presentation. So briefly to introduce myself, I am a project officer on climate and energy at the Council of European Municipalities and Regions. I am focusing on the implementation of initiatives that accompany cities, regions, and their association in the green transition. The aim of my work is to develop qualitative initiatives that can be replicated all over Europe in all types of local and regional governments. So the presentation that I will give now is a bit at the intersection of policy and project and balancing between the discussion that already took place and what we will learn afterwards with our other speakers. I'm really happy to be among this nice panel. I have seen like representatives and advocates of local and regional missions, so kind of friends of cities and regions in a way. Before getting into the details of my presentation, a quick introduction of what is CMR. So CMR stands for the Council of European Municipalities and Regions. It is the oldest and broadest association of local and regional governments. So we present 60 national associations of local and regional government, spanning 41 European countries. And so with all of these associations, we bring together more than 110,000 authorities across all levels of governance. CMR is also the European section of the global organization UCLG, United Cities and Local Governments. CMR as an organization has two objectives. The first one is influencing European policy and legislation in all areas that would have an impact on local and regional government. The second one is to provide a forum for debate between local and regional governments via their national representative associations. So this representation work is possible via policy and project work in Brussels and with our member associations. To succeed in this mission, that is not easy, we focus our work on 4 impact goals that are related to climate, cohesion, labor, and society. And so, of course, in the framework of today's presentation, we will touch upon these 4 goals, but especially the ones that are related to climate and cohesion. Because indeed, the question that I was asked to reply in my presentation is to know if city can become green and resilient at the same time. And there is no easy answer for that. So we need to look into different potential answers. What is sure is that CMR is advocating for clean, green, and resilient cities. And via our advocacy and project work, we aim at helping the cities, the region, the provinces in their journey towards climate neutrality. So I wanted to start by sharing some key numbers that highlight how cities and regions are the big players in the green transition. There is a very important percentage that is coming from a report that you, Mr. Markula, were reporter of at the Committee of the Regions. I guess we'll talk about it later. This report shows that 70% of climate change mitigation and 90% of climate adaptation initiatives are executed at the municipal and regional level. So I could almost stop here my presentation because it's clear that there is no green transition without cities. Another key number here is that 65% of the UN SDGs needs engagement and coordination with local and regional governments to be achieved. So indeed, to be able to talk about the green transition, we necessarily have to get local and regional governments on board. The transition can't happen without cities and regions, and for this to happen, CMR is advocating for a better multi-level governance, working with cities, region, provinces, the national level, and the European level, of course. This is relevant for today's discussion. Here, multi-level governance should be seen as an umbrella that needs to be taken into account in a wide range of topics that are relevant for the green transition. One very important aspect also, and especially in the framework of today's project, is the local governance. So of course, CMR firmly believes in participatory democracy and in the involvement of all types of actors in the public debate. Governance, obviously, is at the heart of multi-level governance. And so local and regional decisions must involve citizens and CSOs, just as national and European decisions must involve local and regional government. In this sense, multi-level governance should be seen as a structured process and have local and regional governments involved in the beginning of the local law-making process, but also in the full implementation circles. So that can refer, but not only, to have LRGs on board when identifying targets and objectives, to have cities involved in the decisions on how to implement these policies, and also, most importantly, involve local and regional government in the discussion about finance. So in the past few years, CMR has published several reports that are highlighting the key roles of local finances in the green transition. And so what we can see without a surprise is that without an increase and a streamlining of these local finances, the local green and resilient transition will become very difficult. As European umbrella for local and regional governments, what we have seen and discussed with our members is that there is an inefficiency in terms of funding that is coupled with a need for better simplification and an increase of the capacity of absorption in cities and regions. And so thanks to this work that we're doing with our members via expert group, via advocacy and policy paper, we have found some really relevant things for this discussion today. What we have discovered is that to ensure the effectiveness of the transition, policymakers must prioritize the territorial impact of the regulations and focus on the local aspects of the transition. It is also extremely important to preserve and encourage local and regional public investment, both for the long term and the sustainable development. What we see also is that we need national governments and the European institutions to increase direct financial support to local and regional governments. This is especially important to implement critical initiatives that are related to energy and climate, and that would match also the responsibility and the expectation of the local action. Eventually, this would help to deliver the energy and green transition. Ultimately, we feel that the workability of the sustainable finance agenda is also key to finance the green and resilient transition. So here was just like a little snapshot from CMR advocacy work that is focused on the development of some recommendation for a better action. Another path for this resilience is also to work on the implementation of some innovative ideas and to test in a kind of laboratory way some concrete solutions. And so together with, or in collaboration with our members, we developed some innovative tools and engaged with local and regional governments in Europe via project work. And so this helps us to support cities and regions in their transition with an overall idea to simplify their understanding for local actors and to help them make the best out of these initiatives. And so via this collaboration, we also help to take closer to cities and region the EU initiatives and give them a concrete local application. So in this sense, CMR is involved in the development of several initiatives such as Sun for Ukraine, the Foster Project, or the EU Forum that will establish a platform for boosting energy efficient behavior at the local level. But here, what I wanted to focus on is the key initiative to support cities and regions in the green and transition, that is the Covenant of Mayors. It was just mentioned by Bruno before, so it's really nice to see this bridge in the panels, because CMR is part of the Covenant of Mayors Europe office. For some context, the EU Covenant of Mayors for Climate and Energy is an initiative that is supported by the European Commission and that bring together more than 12,000 local governments, so cities, that want to secure a better future for their citizens. By joining the initiative, cities and mayors are voluntarily committing to implement EU climate and energy objectives. So the Covenant of Mayors was launched in 2008 and is still going on as of today. It is a bottom-up approach initiative to all energy and climate action taking place at the local level. And it has the objective to provide local governments in very diverse national contexts, because we're talking about the 27 EU member states, a framework for the local and energy action. So this is based on 4 principles mainly that are consistency and transparency, thanks to a common reporting framework for all. It is also linked with flexibility and adjustability of this common framework to better take specific needs and local realities into account, because a city in Portugal doesn't have the same issue as a city in Finland, for instance. It also have the possibility to have the evaluation of the data that are reported by the European Commission GRC, Joint Research Center. And in the end, it's also a way to have promotion and exchanges of experience via website, online and offline events, and gathering of the community. And so, in my view here, the European Covenant of Mayors is perfectly highlighting how cities can work on their climate transition and focus at the same time on their resilience. So that's why we can see that committed cities now should focus on 3 key aspects of the transition that are mitigation, adaptation, and energy poverty. And then again, we have seen it. There is no mitigation and adaptation transition without cities. So just to conclude briefly, because I think I've spoken my time now, a few main messages to remember from coming from CMR. Is that it is really important to always involve local and regional governments in the development of new policies, because the chance that this regulation will involve or affect at some point local and regional government is actually quite high. And so the consequence of this is that resilience can only be built with the involvement of local and regional government. For cities to achieve their transition and to become green and resilient at the same time, the path is long, but it seems feasible somehow, and we should keep supporting them in all aspects of their work. Ultimately, to succeed in the green and resilient transition, we must work on systemic-based approach and think all our work and policies with this objective in mind. So to answer the question, can cities become green and resilient at the same time? Again, there is no easy answer. But if it is important to be realistic, we still feel that it can be possible, it can happen, but only with local and regional governments on board. In the end, cities and regions are the heart of the European democracy, and they are the perfect laboratory to experiment solutions. So in conclusion, they are the only way to achieve Europe climate neutrality. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. Impressive, really, presentation with all the details, and shows really the work that CMR is doing and how much it supports regions and cities in the ground, in the real work, which I think it's really important. Let's go now to Mr. Alfonso Alcolea Martinez. I think that we solved the technical problem that we had. He's policy officer in the Directorate General for the Environment. Mr. Martinez, do you hear us?
Yes.
Perfect. Great.
So I hear myself too.
I will give you the floor for your presentation on the initiatives that support urban green transition.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for this invitation. Also, happy to say hello to Mr. Markula, with whom I have worked in the past, and I see him as active as always. Going to the topic, I mean, I work in DG environment, and in DG environment, okay, it's clear that the environmental transition has an important, the green transition has an important dimension on cities, and that's our job of a small team to support it in cooperation with the chef de file, so the leading service is DG Regio, who are now in charge of the urban agenda for cities. First of all, when we ask if the greener city, if in this new agenda, I have heard probably in this agenda, in this moment where we are talking about competitiveness, which is super important and key for the future, and with this new geopolitical situation in which we found ourselves, I think it's important to remind that the green transition is part of the security transition. I mean, cities are more resilient. We are in a moment where the resilience of cities the Green Deal has proved the importance of being resilient to pandemics, to all kind of floods, droughts, catastrophes, and other situations. And also we need to be independent energetically I mean, energetic independence is also means green energy at the same time. So that's a very important point to bear in mind. It's not the moment to forget about the green efforts, but the moment to step on the effort for the green transition of our cities and to make this green transition happen. If I can, if I can share, simply I would like to share a couple of slides. This one is a very interesting slide presented long time ago. This is a graphic of the European Environment Agency that makes us think of the complexity and the importance of having a vision of the city. That's why when as the colleague of the CMR said before, the city is a city, the entity that can have the vision, and it's a city, the entity that can tailor the solutions. Because when we are talking about environment, then previously my colleague Bruno was talking about climate and energy. But another colleague of the Commission can come and talk about how important clean cities is to have health of the citizens, asthma, respiratory diseases, risk of there are the risk of heat waves, many actions, even mental health associated to is important to have a nice environment to be happy in your city. But then another colleague of transport may come and say, no, it's very important to have sustainable mobility in our cities. So I like very much this graphic of the European Environment Agency that talks about several lenses, low carbon, green city, resilient city, inclusive city, healthy city, and circular city. So you have all these, and there are several blocks. It explains several factors: governance, culture, knowledge, finance, technology, data, and information. And in the building blocks, there are several ones relating to the cities, to the citizens. So it's very important to have collaborative initiatives to take the citizens on board all the time, all the structures where the citizens are represented and organized too, the importance of participation and empowerment, the importance of inclusive cities, social and environmental security, justice. It's clear that the less favored areas have, for example, more noise or less access to green areas, and simply the ownership of the space of the city, the way we build this city. So that's why I wanted to draw your attention to this interesting conceptual point. And then we go so it's the city who makes the agenda, and then we go to the scope of initiatives that the Commission has put at disposal of the cities. We have the European Urban Initiative. We have talked about the Covenant of Mayors, but there are many others: the Mission Cities, Circular Cities and Decision Initiative, Intelligent Cities Challenge, that is now going to change Civitas for sustainable mobility, and the Smart Cities Marketplace. So we have other missions, we have the European Bauhaus, and that is normal. It's very normal that when it comes to the person in charge of European affairs in the city, this person normally doesn't have the time to know about how much is there at the disposal. So it's very important to go to the single stop shop that the Committee of the Regions has, Green Deal Going Local, or to the European Urban Initiative of DG Region, and then you can be diverted to what you need. In the environment, we have 3 initiatives, 2 main ones. So we have a network of cities that work closely with us. One of the networks is the Green Capital, and the network of cities who have been green capitals and green leaf. For example, Mr. Markula has been jury. He can tell how these cities perform, even the finalists. But so these cities are now Vilnius is the green capital for 1 year, but these cities continue working together, and there is a legacy of what these efforts of being green capital represent for the city. By the way, you can apply till the 15th of April. Then we have something that is very similar but smaller to the Covenant of Mayors, which is the Green City Accord. And in the Green City Accord, we have 119 signatories in this moment that commit to report on 5 environmental indicators, which are related to water, air, noise, waste, and circular economy, and nature and biodiversity. And that is how we can see how these cities are performing. We have seen that there is an ambition that they will comply with the legislation. Some of them want to go ahead. There are difficulties to measure, but we have already a first report published, and we expect to report in the future. And that is why, and also we have the Urban Nature Platform, that is a set of resources put at disposal of the cities to green the city, to bring biodiversity and to renature cities, because it's very important to implement the nature restoration regulation that is also has entered into force, together with some other legislation like waste, water, air quality, and others. So in this moment, I will just go ahead and explain that, yes, we are working in this establishment of synergies with these initiatives. You are all invited to join the Green City Accord, to run for European Green Capital. But of course, we have to establish synergies, for example, with the Covenant of Mayors, to work more closely with them, and also show out the examples of these cities, because it cannot be done without a new governance that involves new way of organizing your own government in the city, and a new way to give voice to the citizens. That's both aspects go together, because if not, we will end up by implementing these uncoordinated measures. For example, I have seen sustainable urban mobility plans that remove trees, and the city is losing vegetation. So we see that sometimes there is a lack of coordination that is very, very extraordinary cases and not frequent. But of course, the importance of this governance and this the reporting also gives you the possibility of know where you are, and step up the ambition of the city. And now, with the new priorities, we still see that the agenda is high in the Commission. The green transition is high in the Commission agenda. The letters of mission of President von der Leyen to the different commissioners not only announce the urban policy agenda, but also keeps the implementation as key. The Clean Industrial Pact, Circular Economy Act, all these new initiatives, and the Union for Skills, or these initiatives on competitiveness, are also very important for the cities. Very important also I draw your attention to the fact of the nature credits that may allow the cities to fund from private sector the renaturing and the investments in biodiversity. The European water resilience will be a major step in this mandate. We are preparing it, and it will be announced very soon. And we work also with the new European Bauhaus. So to finish, if you need information of finance, there are many portals. DG Environment has updated this small guide that may allow you to go through the maze of funding opportunities from not only public but also on private sector. But it is very important that we are working also in this effort of establishing synergies and reach out better to the cities and listen a lot to what you say and to what you need. that is the end of my presentation. Well, I think that's all, and I'm open to listen to, because I think it's more important that I'm going to listen to what I have to say, actually. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Actually, I think it was very important what you told us and what you described us, because we were discussing about the funding, and we're looking for the funding since the beginning of this debate, even before that, I would say. So yes, it was very, very important, and thank you very much for this contribution. And with this, I want to go back to our panelists. It's clear that many things are happening, and cities are trying to do even more. But I remember in the first panel, there was someone mentioned, I think by Bruno, that actually the cost of green transition is about 800 billion euros. This number reminds me that this is the number actually that we want for rearmament EU, and this amount was found relatively quickly for this initiative, where for green transition we're struggling for years and years, and we cannot allocate those sources. We cannot agree how to allocate them. So, Mr. Marcola, is it mainly in the end a matter of political will and political decision, or it's really hard to find funding for these initiatives?
Actually, the answer is quite easy, because we just need to have that financing. And actually, I do think that the figure you just mentioned, 800 billion, so that's too small, a lot too small, because in the recent EU Commission document on this pollution and the other issues, they looked, and we actively take some of the basic facts as facts. So as such, so what does it cost if we don't do anything? So if we just keep on going the traditional way, so the cost is 2.4 trillion euros. So 3 times the figure that you just mentioned, and that's the cost for the let's say living in Europe. Because what we have seen about the disasters, whatever forest fires, floods, growth, and so on, and they are coming more and more of those. So, and we cannot just wait to tackle that kind of circumstances or that kind of consequences. We need to more focus on the mitigation. So how to stop the increase of the temperatures. So. And from that, so then I come actually what you started with, so that kind of challenging us a bit. So is Green Deal a history? Yes, it is partly history, because now it's integrated in all policy sectors. In every commissioner, in their mission letters, they have these elements that are so crucial for implementation, because previous 5-year commission period, so it was more the issue of directives and regulations, what is needed to do. Now it's time to move to action. And that's why then we come to the big issue, and that's the implementation cannot be done here in Brussels. It needs to be done on the local and regional level by the mayors, by the city councillors, by the citizens, and by the local industry. And that's why what we just heard Alfonso to pointed out some of those initiatives that we have learned a lot throughout the whole Europe, Green Deal or green leaf cities. So they have convinced that the city level can do a lot. Small cities, large cities can do a lot. And if I take from that, so there's some of the elements that what we at the Committee of the Region, we have reviewed. So we actually a year ago already made our own kind of a judgment and a report, Green Deal 2.0, which is really the Green Deal going local. And we approved that last year, May, and now it's us as well, time to implement that. And one of my new roles is really use all the experience and competence that I have on being the chair of this Green Deal going local. And this is our offer from the cities and regions to the whole European Commission, let's do that finally together more and more, not just having good input by contributions, but really making that happen more from the bottom up, because that's what the municipalities, what the CMR is stating so heavily, that we have throughout the whole Europe, we have more than 1 million elected local councillors, decision makers, and most of them, close to all of them, are committed that we will make this Green Deal now happen in concrete terms there at the local level. What does this mean? It means that we need to break the silos, but letting the Commission to operate both within the, let's say, the industrial sector, decarbonizing industry, creating industrial handprint solutions that we in the public sector can do. So we need to encourage and accelerate that development. Or we need to integrate Green Deal now as essential part of the security and resilience policy. And that's for sure so something that we are doing with Ukraine and testing and getting new things moving faster than in any time in our history. Or it's part of, definitely strong part of Mario Draghi's research and development investment policy. So we need to increase the R&D and focus more on the innovation, how we can accelerate again the results out of the scientific research, because we don't have yet at all the technology that we need. European Environmental Agency have analyzed this a lot. International Energy Agency has analyzed this, and so we are somewhere, if we look what we would need already by 2030, we have the technology solutions only 10% or maximum 30% existing of that. So we need to have this more and more R&D investment, so research and innovation again. But it's not only about technology. Of course, we need how we can capture emissions, CO2 from the air. That's something new that is already coming strongly. We have had a lot of good reference cases testing how that happens, and that is part of the technological solution. But in parallel of that, we need to always remember that we need to move for more on the nature-based solutions as well, with the biodiversity. And practically the best solution for that is, if I link that to my own experience, so my own city, Espoo, the second largest city in Finland. So we last end of May, we approved our own carbon neutrality roadmap, being carbon neutral already by 2030. And we are moving along this. So it's 100-page details, facts and figures, a lot, but as well pointing out the activities that we need to be implementing. And we cannot do that as a city alone, but city as a community, with all our citizens encouraging schools to talk about these, finding, go deeper on the scientific solutions. So school children as well can learn and can have a strong influence. But then it's as well industry, local, small industry, large industry, a lot of new startups and so on. And to add to that, so it's not only this climate neutrality, but in parallel to that, so we just, with our board decision a month ago, we adopted what we call the nature-wise Espoo. So it's about the biodiversity, it's our way to zero pollution, with all our lakes, close to 100 lakes in our city, or we had 165 islands, 60 kilometers seashore. So that's a reality in many of the towns and cities, and we can move. And that's why we need to, all what Alonso showed on those different initiatives, but we need to integrate them. And that's a new challenge for the government of mayors as well. And that's a challenge for the Committee of the Region, because we are part of the official EU decision making. So we can really showcase with the Commission now, what does this Green Deal going local really mean? So again, activities from the bottom up.
Excellent, thank you very much. You mentioned actually the schools and the citizens, and I think this is also one of the points that we're trying to tackle in this discussion. So, Elisa, where are the citizens in this effort? How the municipalities and the cities try to engage them in the policy making, and do you really see results in this effort? Do you think more needs to be done?
Yes, thank you for your question and for your remarks also, Mr. Markula. I don't know if we feel that this engagement of citizens, we don't necessarily, from CMR perspective, we don't see the citizens' engagement because we're working with our national associations that are themselves working with citizen regions. What we do, of course, is to encourage our members and their members to work with citizens, because it's also in the same ways that city can tailor the solutions, citizens can tailor the solutions, because they are at the ground, they're in the daily life, in the daily local life of what is happening in cities. And they're the one that can see, as Alfonso was mentioning, related to what a city can bring, related to healthy, inclusive, resilience, circularity, green, and low carbon. So it's really the citizens that should inspire also cities in their work and in the political decisions that they're taking. So of course, it's important.
Thank you.
Let me just highlight a few examples what the schools can do, because we've talked in Europe a lot about planting trees. So a nice personal experience is that actually when I was a school child in northern Finland, so can you guess how many trees I have planted?
Not really.
I often ask, okay, who has planted, let's say, 100 trees? And there are very few. But if I then go up to 100,000 trees, so no one else except me have done that, so in that audience. But it's really working in summers. That's one way, because at that time, when I was young, so we were allowed to do this kind of official work and get paid. But it was really a good way to learn to understand the nature, what we can do. And now when I look on, and I've been following some of those locations where the trees have been growing, so that what does it really mean? And we have done now in the city of Espoo, we allocated a certain amount of money through the city budget, through the taxpayers' money for this planting trees or bushes, so that especially schools and different communities in city, they learn to know how it works in concrete terms. So children as well, when they have personally planted the tree, they will look every time that they go to school or to the shop or somewhere, they look, okay, how the trees are growing, and then they keep on seeing that, and they take good care of that. The other example is the SDGs. We have made special cards, so kind of playing a bit card with facts and figures on the other side. So all those 17 SDGs, they have their special card with facts. We renew them after a couple of years always. And school children, that's very good, effective way to start understanding let's say, the complexity of all these issues. And so why SDGs are so crucial. So there are many ways that we can introduce, or having this international collaboration, encouraging schools to do more with the other schools around globally and so on, learn from their experiences, sharing that through the internet and so on.
Very good. A very concrete example, I think, quite useful also for our audience, this one. I want to go back to Mr. Martinez and ask, all those initiatives and all those funding that we saw, actually, that you presented, is really interesting. But what is your experience? Are the municipalities, and especially the small ones, the remote ones, are they able to really use them? Do they have the capacity to really use all those instruments? And do you think they would need more help, and how they can be helped more?
Yes, it is true. That is something that we have to permeate, and the challenge of capillarity, the challenge of arriving to the latest, smallest municipality, and within the smallest municipality to the department, to every department and every area of the municipality. Is this green chip and this public participation chip at the same time? They go together. They go together. Something that many times what the local the local leaders, the local leaders of the green capitals are really leaders that carry on with the whole city, the whole political spectrum of the city, and citizens included. But it's also important to get, for example, to rethink your internal governance, how to make this information go through silos. For example, I have met big cities that have no department of biodiversity. They have a department of parks and gardens, but you don't have anybody thinking horizontally. So you have people who are in green procurement, but they are not arriving to the rest of the colleagues. So it's how to make this chip arrive, or simply you have municipalities that are preparing big projects, and then the technician is doing business as usual, thinking as usual. It's not, no. You are going to do a new boulevard. Let's make it the greenest. You are going to let's open it to the citizens. Let's talk about it. But normally, it's not the lack of will; it's the business as usual, and that's also something that this inertia that we have to overrun. Also, there is we cannot close our eyes to a political spin against, for example, policies of mobility, or even negationism of climate change. I have met local elected politicians who say, "Okay, I have other colleagues that are in that position," and I say, "Okay, you don't believe in climate change, but don't you agree? Let's agree that planting trees is a good thing. Let's agree that bringing biodiversity to the city is a good thing. Let's agree that reducing the number of people with asthma is a good thing." And with all that, you can move ahead also. That's what I have learned, at least, and I don't stop learning, because every time I read or go outside in meetings like this one, I listen with a lot of interest. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I want to close this session with one question again from our audience. So, green transition is really important, and it's also part of Europe's response to global health and economic crisis. But say that we don't manage to achieve our goals. Is there a backup plan for green transition if green transition fails? Do we have a backup plan? I will start from Elisa.
Again, an impossible question, I feel. First of all, I think it's a bit too early to think about if it's not possible to be achieved. And also, I don't think we can have this thinking of like the green transition can't be achieved. It needs to be achieved. So I won't reply to the question, because I don't think we should go in this direction. Because of course, if you start prepping a backup plan because we won't succeed, then it's of course easier to not do what was planned at first and to go for the easy solution. So we should not go for the easy solution and keep going and achieve our objectives. We don't have the choice.
Thank you. Mr. Markula?
Yeah, I think I have a plan B for this option so as well. So, but it's because now recent years we've been doing more incremental, more steps, transition even as a word, but it cannot be that we already need to jump to the systematic transformation. So a bigger jump. And what does this require? This requires that we share more our experiences, more work in a synergic, integrated way. We integrate local level using of cohesion funds to accelerate. We take more of the good practices from other municipalities, other regions, and we speed up this, let's say, sharing the knowledge. And then from the Commission side, it means as well, so that more encouragement, this, as it's pointed out in the mission letters of the commissioners, they need to engage citizen dialogues, youth dialogues. So we need to operate there more on the local level, and take the best, let's say, innovative models for these activities. It means orchestrating, so it's not parallel projects, but it's collaboration mentality where the industry plays a crucial role, where we have the scientists supporting that and looking that, okay, what we concretely can do not criticizing too much that some are anyhow slower in their motion, but we need more these front runners or forerunner cities and learning from that experience. We need to finance even through the Horizon kind of money, so research money, so to accelerate this process. And this is the systematic transformation. I'm very committed and convinced that the different Commission experts from the European Commission, they are eager to do that. It's said clearly in the messages of Ursula von der Leyen, so that research and innovation is at the very heart of the EU policy. But now it's time to implement that in a bit kind of new mindset phase. And that's why the work of the Committee of the Region through our more than 300 members and another 300 alternates. So we can mobilize these activities together with the SEMR, with the CPMR, with many of those organizations that are operating mainly here in Brussels, but their roots, their activities are on the ground in the real life practice. And that's where we can implement this. Another plan, not to go as we have used to do.
Thank you. It's quite optimistic approach. Mr. Martinez,
Yes.
Is there a plan B?
No, we haven't. So I think there isn't. But it is true what Mr. Markula says. That sometimes I see more Professor Markula than elected politician Markula. But it is true. We start. There is what we see is that we start with incremental transitions, and then we get the systemic change. So now we can have really very substantial steps ahead that are provided by new technologies, or simply because the society changes. We have now the artificial intelligence that whose potential in this transition is enormous. Then we still don't know it even. We have citizen science, which is a way of involving citizens just with their mobiles, with applications where they can report, where they can get an incentive, get involved about seeing how vectors of diseases are coming through climate change, which is the quality of air, which is the smell pollution, light pollution, whatever they want to introduce. And that's something that gives us also a lot of data, a lot of knowledge. And also, if we go to Plan B, I'm from Spain. I have family in Valencia. I remember the floods of 1957. And nobody and Valencia, I have been working with them in the past, so I worked with the region, and it was the most prepared region against floods in Europe, and I can tell you that is a reality. Nevertheless, a flood that had no a return foreseen of millennia just happened, and it may happen again, and took away more than 200 lives, with a catastrophe that has really hit the GDP of the region. And there is no B plan. They are thinking of building back together, building back again, and building back in another way. And it's really the cost of not transition is too high as not to undertake it, as we have said in the panel. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, we're reaching the end of this panel and of this event. I want to thank all our speakers for their contributions. I think it was extremely useful what we heard today. Trying to sum up a bit what we heard in the two panels, I would say that we should start from the end. There is no plan B, or if there is a plan B, it's not really different from plan A. So we need to push forward. We got positive messages today that actually European Union remains committed to green transition, remains committed in supporting this effort and this transition with any means, not only financial but also politically. And all the commissioners horizontally will need to push forward for this change. We also understood that there are tools for the regions and the cities, not only to finance their projects, but also to increase the engagement of their citizens. And I hope with all this and all the input that you got from our five speakers, you will have a lot of things to discuss in the course of your projects in the next meetings. And I'm also sure that our speakers will be really happy to receive feedback from these events, because also to inform our speakers here, this project will implement 18 events in 16 months on green transition. So they will discuss a lot. They will bring, I think, new ideas. They will bring best practices. It will be useful to share with you at some point. Before closing, I want to apologize on behalf of the organizers as well for the videos that did not manage to play at the beginning of the event, but for sure they will be available afterwards, and we will send them to all the speakers so they get an idea of what you are doing at the local level and how you are working and what is your approach to green transition. And with this, I want to thank you all for your participation, for your active participation, and wish you a good day. Thank you.
Thank you.